this is Jo from Maths Tutor Me. Today we're doing decimals and I'm going to show you how to convert fractions to decimals. Now there's a couple of words that you're going to need to know, and the first one is this: a terminating decimal. A terminating decimal is a decimal that has an end. Okay, so something like 0.5, 0.25, a decimal that has an end is what we call a terminating decimal. But we're also going to get what is called recurring decimals, which is a number with an infinitely repeating digit or digits. So like this one here, for example, 0.373737, and we use dots to indicate that that's going to just keep going forever. That is a recurring decimal. So for this example, we want to write this recurring decimal using a line to indicate the recurring digits. So instead of having to write it over and over and over and then the dots, what we can do is we can write 0.37, and instead of having to repeat it, 3737, we put a line above the digits that repeat, like that, and that's the end of it. That's how we can write it. Okay, what else do we want to do? Let's have a look at question 2. We want to convert 3/5 into tenths and then write it as a decimal. So the other thing we can do is to change our denominator into something that's easy to work with. So tenths are easy to work with. I want my denominator to be a 10. So to change from a 5 to a 10, I need to multiply that by 2. So I multiply the top by 2 to get a 6. That makes it easy to write as a decimal. If I have 6/10 or 6/10, that means that my decimal is 0.6. Okay, so that's one of our methods to convert a fraction into a decimal, is to write it with a denominator of either 10, 100, or one of our factors of 10, our multiples of 10. So question 3, we're going to be doing a similar thing. We want to convert 11/20 into hundredths so that we can write it as a decimal. So 11/20, this time because it's 20, we can't go to 10, it's making it smaller. We need to go up to 100 for our denominator. So I need to multiply 20 by something to get 100. You would need to multiply that by 5. So whatever I do to get that, I need to do the same thing to the top. 11 times 5 is 55. Now that I have 55 hundredths, that's easy to write as a decimal. It will be 0.55. Okay, so that was one method. Change our denominator to be a factor of 10. But not all fractions are easy to do that. If we have an 8 on the denominator or an 11 on the denominator, they're not going to multiply easy to become a 10 or 100 for the denominator. So we need to use another strategy as well. For this one, if I want to convert 5/8 into a decimal, what I'm going to do is change that into a division problem. A fraction means the same as divide. This fraction actually means that I have 5 and I want to divide it by 8. So I'm going to put 5 under my divide sign and I'm going to divide that by 8. Now 5 doesn't divide by 8, I'm going to have to go into decimal places. So just to prepare myself, I'm going to put a couple of zeros down here after my 5, so 5.00, to give myself some working room. So let's try to divide this now. 5 divided by 8, as we said, that can't work. There's no 8s that are in 5, there's 0. So we put a 0 up here, but we move our 5 along to be in front of the first 0. Then we want to do 50 divided by 8. Well, thinking of your times tables, your 8 times tables, the highest one you can think of that doesn't go over 50. Hopefully you're thinking 6 8s are 48. So that means that will go 6 times and I will have a remainder of 2. 20 divided by 8, the highest 8 times table that doesn't go over 20 would be 16. 2 8s are 16. So that goes 2 times And from 16 to 20, I have a remainder of 4. 40 divided by 8 is going to go 5 times. Exactly, without any remainder. Okay, so I can keep adding zeros along here until I have found my complete answer. So that is my answer. 5 over 8 is the same as 0.625. Let's have a look at 4b. 2 and 4/11. Now the 2 at the front doesn't cause us too much problems. What we want to do is this fraction. This is what we need to turn into a decimal. So over on the side, again, I'm going to do a division sign. I want to take 4 and I want to divide it by 11. So let's start by putting a decimal point and a couple of zeros there to get started. So 4 divided by 11, it doesn't go. We put a 0 up the top and we carry our 4 over and put it in front of our first 0. 40 divided by 11. Well, let's think of our 11 times tables. 11 times 3 would give us 33. So that will go 3 times with a remainder of 7. Okay, 70 divided by 11. 6 11s is 66. Okay, so that will go 6 times. I need to put another 0 down here because I have a remainder of 4, which takes me back to here again, doesn't it? 40 divided by 11, same as before, is going to go 3 times with a remainder of 7. And you can see I'm getting a repeating pattern in here. Okay, this is going to keep going. So this is actually going to give me a recurring decimal for an answer. So the answer to this question is 2.36. And instead of having to write 3636, we can just put the bar over the top of the 3 and the 6 to show that they repeat. Okay, that's it for what I want you to learn today. Time for you to have a practice. Okay, so here's 4 questions, just like the ones I've just shown you. Pause the video, give them a try, and then restart to see how you went. Number 1, all we want to do is write this decimal here using a line to indicate the recurring digits. This time there is 3 digits that repeat, the 4, the 3, and the 1. So I write down 0.431 and do a line over the top of all 3 of them to show that they repeat. Question 2, convert 7 2/5 into tenths and then write as a decimal. So 7 2/5, I want to make that 7 and something tenths. So don't worry about the 7. We need to convert this fraction. We need to go from a 5 to a 10, timesing by 2. So times the top number by 2 to become a 4. So that can now be changed to a decimal. The 7 will be at the front, 0.4. Question 3, convert 8 over 25 into hundredths, then write as a decimal. So 8 out of 25, we want our denominator to be 100, which means we have to multiply by 4. Multiply the top by 4, we get 32. So 32 hundredths can be written as 0.32 as a decimal. Question 4, we want to convert each fraction to a decimal. So we're going to have to use our dividing method. Don't worry about the 1 for a minute. We want to take 3 and we're going to divide it by 4. So put a decimal point and 2 zeros to get started. 3 divided by 4, we can't do. We put a 0 down and we put the 3 in front of the next 0. 30 divided by 4, thinking of your 4 times tables. 4 times 7 is 28, giving a remainder of 2. 20 divided by 4 goes exactly 5 times with no remainder. So 1.34 is going to, 1.1 3/4, is going to be equal to 1.75. And part B, 5 over 6. 5 divided by 6. 5 divided by 6 we can't do. Move the 5 over to the next 0. 50 divided by 6. 6 times tables. 6 eighths are 48. That goes 8 times with a remainder of 2. 20 divided by 6. 3 6s are 18, which will give me a remainder of 2. And so then we're going to have 3 6s are 18 again with a remainder of 2. And you can see this is going to continue. So the answer is going to be 0.8. The 8 is not repeating, but the 3 is. So we put the line just above the 3, 0.83. And that's it for today on writing fractions as decimals. Okay, keep practicing. Join me again next time. Bye.